This is heaven. This is heaven. You never get enough of being in places like Amboseli. You can never get enough. The scenery, the wildlife, this is just bliss. We want these places to be there into perpetuity. I just wanted to thank you very much for the generous support you have given to us in supporting IFAW's project, which is to protect Amboseli's elephants and ecosystem. We welcome you all to come and visit Amboseli and enjoy the beautiful savanna, the wonderful animals, and most importantly, to see the work that you are supporting. We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to bequeath this wealth to the next generation. And I think that with IFAW, we are up to the task. Because what we want to do is to cover the whole ecosystem. I'm the Regional Director, International Fund for Animal Welfare. I'm responsible for conservation projects and animal welfare issues in the East Africa region. Kenya is by and large a conservation country. We are endowed with this beautiful natural heritage called wildlife. Kenya as a country does safeguard its wildlife jealously.
IFAW's vision for Amboseli is for it to be a model conservancy, all because of one principal national heritage, the elephants.
Amboseli basically is one of the smallest parks we have in Kenya. It has around 1,300 elephants. The elephants of Amboseli are not just any other group of elephants. Amboseli has an elephant population that has been studied since the 1970s. So it is the most studied elephant population in the world.
I've been working here in Amboseli for almost 40 years. I set up an elephant project here in 1972. Now, once you get to know the elephants individually and you realize you've only just looked at a little tiny bit of their lives, and it became clear that really to understand elephants we have to do a long-term project. So it's the longest running, most thorough elephant study that's in the world. And we're trying to understand all aspects of elephant biology. We want to understand their ecology, their movements, their genetics, their vocalizations and postures, and their social behavior and their reproductive systems. When you go out and you're with them, you're not just looking at, oh, that elephant's standing there feeding. That's Ebony, and you saw her born 17 years ago, and you remember what she was like when she was a calf, and you remember her mother, and you remember her sisters, and you remember everything that happened. It's not just seeing it in 2 dimensions, it's seeing them in 3 dimensions, you know, and all this history in the back. And, you know, they're individuals. That's what makes it so wonderful.
My favorite thing about elephants is the intelligence. Just look at elephants for 5 minutes and you're looking at your own human race and recognize things which fellow human beings do. They greet each other, they touch each other, they get annoyed with each other, they communicate with each other.
They're very affectionate, tactile creatures. They really, really reinforce their bonds continually. I spend a lot of time working around families, so it's lovely to be with elephants when they're sleeping and then they wake up and everybody stretches and yawns and then does a bit of a body rub and says hi and then gets on with their day.
Some of the more interesting things we found in Amboseli is we realized how complex their social structure and social organization is. We have shown that a given female knows at least 100 other adult females. Something about just seeing them and seeing who's with whom and how they're doing, and it's like a soap opera, it's never ending.
It really is like a soap opera. You always want to find out what's going to happen next. So I have 12 study families that I study intensively, who I know everybody individually and I sit for hours with, and I take a lot of detailed data on. My data collection is about leadership. So I want to know in a family, when they're in the process of deciding what they're going to do with their day, where they're going to go and who they're going to go with, who are the individuals who are involved in that decision process and how long does it take them, and who is the one who makes the final decision. Even after 40 years, that's the wonderful thing, we still have things that we want to find out.
So it is very, very critical that we make sure that they continue to be here and teach us more about what elephants do.
Check of $70,000, which is the equivalent in Kenyan shillings, 6,160,000. 2014.
The vision that IFAW has is to ensure that elephants live free in secure and viable habitats. The integrity of the ecosystem is paramount in everything that we're going to do. Elephants are besieged. In the short term, they are being poached in very large numbers, and there's a risk of them being decimated by poaching. If we don't stop poaching of elephants now, then we will not have elephants into the future. In the long term, the big issue is space and space and space. Elephants will be confined into smaller areas and inevitably they will die. And that doesn't augur well for Kenya, for wildlife, for the economy and for tourism. So there's a sense of urgency that something is done now rather than wait for the future to stem the tide for elephant conservation. So in terms of how IFAW is trying to mitigate the emerging challenges in the Amboseli landscape, the Amboseli project has a number of themes. First, we have to prevent elephants from being killed. So there's need for law enforcement. Elephant poaching across the continent has started to escalate. People are demanding for ivory, specifically in China. Last year, the official figures were at least that we were losing 1 elephant a day in Kenya. It is a matter of life and death. The people who come into parks to poach are not coming with bows and arrows or spears. They come with automatic weapons and they are ready to kill. So we are equipping law enforcement agencies like Kenya Wildlife Service with equipment that enables them to combat these poachers. Equipment such as vehicles, radios,
yeah, I can read you. Go ahead, let's see.
Cameras, GPS, etc. The nuts and bolts that they require to put their lives on the line to protect elephants.
We are requesting whether we can search your vehicle.
The other thing that we are ensuring is that there is training, anti-poaching training, to bring law enforcement officers up to speed about what's happening in the world of illegal wildlife trade. what are the new tricks that people are using to smuggle wildlife products like ivory. So we are working with them to ensure that this illegal trade is minimized. And as at last year, 23 tons of ivory were seized. Then we're going to look at issues to do with research, the changes that are happening here. But we need to understand what this means. What are the long-term implications for elephant conservation? Climate change, of course, is a global phenomenon. But here in Kenya, it's beginning to get worrying. It's worrying because we've seen, for instance, the drought cycles getting more regular. And this, of course, has a negative impact on wildlife and specifically elephants.
In 2009, we had the worst drought in living memory. And the animals suffered terribly. We lost almost 400 elephants out of only 1,600. So it was a huge, huge and devastating drought.
What made 2009 different was that we also lost a lot of old matriarchs and the leaders of their families. And those females are really responsible for helping their families decide when and where to move in the ecosystem, keeping them in good shape, keeping them out of danger. So for the families, it was a huge, huge loss. My job here is really to work out how reproduction and habitat choices change after elephants have been through such a traumatic period. How families cope with that, what their flexible responses are, and what that might mean in terms of reproduction and social success for those families further down the line.
We're having an amazing phenomenon going on at the moment in Amboseli, which is a baby boom. When the drought ends and the grains come and the vegetation grows again, the females start putting on weight to a certain level where they can start reproducing again. Virtually every female in the population was available to mate. Having these calves come has just renewed them in every way. The families are excited. You can see a complete difference in the way they're behaving.
Human-elephant conflict is on the rise. Habitats are increasingly being destroyed and being fragmented. We need to have scientific information that tells us what kind of space is required by elephants so that we are better able to secure those spaces. Protected areas are actually not enough for conservation.
Well, Amboseli is a very small park by African standards. It's only 150 square miles or 390 square kilometers. But the ecosystem over which the animals roam, which surrounds all four sides of the park, is 8,000 square kilometers, about 5,000 square miles.
So the wildlife moves back and forth between the protected area, which is a national park, and the community land.
In fact, they move out every night from the park and feed in outside areas, and then they move in. And then in the wet season, when rains come, they move really far out. They go really long distances.
So if we lose that land out there, the elephants here will not survive. The population of Kenya is growing. It's been growing tremendously. Areas that were previously inhabited by wildlife are now being converted into settlements or converted into farms.
As elephants become more and more confined, as human populations increase and land use practices change, that has a huge impact on how people and elephants share the same space. We're going to have to find really radical solutions to deal with how elephants move around the areas.
We want to understand the movements of the elephant of Amboseli.
We want to learn this in a more scientific way using GPS collars.
Collaring enables you to follow their movements day and night. The particular collars that we've just deployed are going to transmit for 20 months. Right now we're getting a signal once every half an hour. Everybody back. We're reviving the elephant.
And what we are going to be looking at when we collar the elephants is where do they go to? Where do they disperse to? Where do they migrate to? How long do they travel? What is the width of the area that they cover? Those preferred areas that they go to, what is the condition of the habitat there? Are people settling there? Is the land use changing in a manner that will be a threat to the elephants? If, for instance, there's potential threats to the elephants, when you know where your elephants are, then it becomes easy to apportion resources.
Having elephants that have got a collar, giving you real-time information about where they are last night, this morning, this minute, makes a big difference in terms of deploying rangers.
In the event that these elephants are outside a protected area and there is conflict, you are able to detect that immediately. You are able to deploy conflict management rangers to move those elephants away from the conflict area. With long-term data having been collected, it will be possible for us to be able to map out those areas that are used by elephants so that there is no conflict. So we are in the process of leasing 20,000 acres of land from the community of a critical wildlife corridor that links Amboseli to Kilimanjaro, so that that land can be set aside only for conservation. We are looking for those kind of practical solutions where both wildlife and humans can coexist in the same space. The community are custodians of this wildlife, so they are a very, very integral part of conservation. And what IFAW wants to do in Amboseli is to work with the community, because over 90% of the Amboseli ecosystem is actually outside in the community land.
Keeping the community on your side is absolutely essential.
Without the goodwill of the community, we cannot succeed.
Conservation of Amboseli elephants is interlinked.
The big progress that we have made here in Amboseli in terms of community outreach has been that we've been having continuous education and awareness. It's a pretty new thing to talk about animal welfare, particularly here in this region in East Africa. There are a lot of school kids around that we need to work with so that they understand what it means when we talk about animal welfare. those leaders of today and those of tomorrow, we need to tell them why Amboseli is important, why we need to continue to conserve Amboseli as an ecosystem so that they can act responsibly on environmental issues, because environmental issues also touch on livelihoods.
As recently as 2009, the community experienced the worst drought that has affected their livestock, losing up to 75% of their livestock. And the community are more than convinced they've got to look for alternative livelihoods.
So we want to look at how best the community can benefit in terms of them getting engaged in conservation and earning a livelihood out of it, which is the best form of livelihood that complements wildlife conservation. And ecotourism comes to mind.
Amboseli, with its natural assemblage of elephants that are walking between here and Kilimanjaro, offers a unique product that you can sell for tourism. And indeed, it pays off.
Wasungu nimekuja hapa kwa ajili ya ndovu, kuja kuona nyama, kuja kuona Masai. Wanyama ni ng'ombe yetu, na hiyo ni ng'ombe yetu yote, kwa maana ilikuwa napenda sisi ambaye iko biashara ya wasungu hapa, na ng'ombe kiangazi imemaliza yote, na ndiye imefikiria mambo ya mashamba yetu, mwambia IFAW mpatia IFAW kodeshe, wamemba anapata kitu kidogo, na nashirikiana pamoja tutafuta faida ya watoto yetu. Iko watoto ambaye iko secondary, university, mimi iko moja university, na napata kitu kidogo kutoka wanyama ambaye kulipia karo.
The other thing we are doing is training community scouts, giving them a job similar to what Kenya Wildlife Service is doing. If we have the community gainfully employed and watching out for wildlife there, I think I see two benefits. First, that their physical presence is a deterrent, but secondly, it is something that is good for the community. It makes them proud that they are participating in the conservation of elephants and other wildlife.
E is for elephant in every child alphabet in the Western world. Every alphabet book, you'll see elephants. People are really drawn to them because they are so charismatic.
They've been here for millions of years, and they play a terribly important role in the ecology of the African landscapes. They're magnificent animals that we should live with. You feel you have to be here to do whatever you can to protect them. We must think that we can do something. But if we don't, we won't have any elephants left in 20 years or so.
The world would just be intrinsically poorer if we didn't have elephants in it. It would be a very sad place. I hope I don't live to see that day.
People see the glamour of the job, but it's a very hard job. It's really a calling. Because you spend many years out there in the field where there are no social amenities. You really have to sacrifice to be there. You put your life on the line. And the people who come to poach elephants, they would shoot you. So you are actually at a front line. It's a battle. So it can be very tense, but it's very rewarding. If you take it like it's a calling, it's very rewarding.
We are all part of nature, and we all recognize that we cannot destroy nature. It's like destroying our very self. The amount of dedication that is being put by everybody here beyond terms of cost and time is a feeling of, you protect the elephants, you're protecting yourselves. 12 minutes. And the hammer.
And the hammer, yeah.
So I'm very proud and honored to be able to make a difference to voiceless animals. I would like to be part of humanity that can prove that we can live on Earth without having to have this curve that shows human beings going up and elephants going down. There is enough space on Earth, in Kenya, in Africa, for elephants.
We have an opportunity now, if we act immediately. We believe as IFAW that there can be harmony so long as there's planning, that elephants and human beings can coexist. But we need all the help that we can get from our supporters to pull this through. Amboseli has the most studied elephant population in the world. We do not want to lose that population. We need as much support as possible so that the policies that are undertaken by government at the national level or at the local level or are undertaken internationally, that they are elephant friendly, that they are friendly towards the conservation of wildlife.
Come to Africa, come on safari. Tourism industry is a huge economic driver for keeping wildlife and wild places intact.
If they can't come on safari, then they can give donations to conservation organizations. And if they can't do that, they should just be aware. Just try to be aware, try to know as much as possible and spread the word of what needs to be done.
People signing petitions against the ivory trade, making sure that pressure is kept up on governments to make sure that trade doesn't continue. All those voices together do make a difference.
This heritage, which just doesn't belong to Kenya but also belongs to the world, what can we all do collectively to ensure that these animals are passed on to our grandchildren and their grandchildren and forever?
Now, those are elephants. Those guys are freer than us. We think we actually are a happy lot, but those guys are happier than you 100-fold. In fact, if your weight is 50 kilograms and their weight is 500 kilograms, that's the amount of happiness they have. James is trying to pay a loan, me, I'm trying to pay rent. What happiness is this? Me, I want to go and join those guys. They have no bank loan, no nothing. Okay, let me cool down.
We are one, we are equal, we are hope, we are change, we are heart, we are soul, we are